When the Kia Niro was introduced back in 2017, it was one of the more affordable hybrid and plug-in hybrid compact crossover SUVs. A year later, we got the electric version of the Kia Niro, and in 2023, we have the second generation of the Kia Niro, still available as a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and an EV. So is this new generation just as affordable as the previous one, and how much better is it than the previous one? Let's go for a drive and find out. Let's start things off in the electric Niro, and coincidentally it is the most powerful of the three variants. The power is sent to the front wheels only. Actually, all versions of the Kia Niro come in front wheel drive only. There's no all-wheel drive, whether it's the hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or this electric version. But this electric motor can produce 201 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque. Now obviously that isn't a whole lot of power. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour takes a little over 7 seconds, but because it is electric, the torque is instant. So as soon as you put your foot down, the car immediately reacts. After you reach about 110, 120-ish kilometers an hour, the acceleration does start to slow down and taper off, but that's still plenty of speed. One thing to note, if you exit a corner and you mash your foot on the accelerator pedal, then you will be fighting the traction control system. That is, unless you turn it off, in which case the front inside wheel is going to just be spinning and you could see some smoke coming from the tire. But otherwise, if you're a bit more gentle with the accelerator, then you won't really feel too much tugging at the steering wheel. There isn't that much torque steer, and the car just accelerates at a pretty good pace. It's not the most sportiest to drive, but then again, this isn't a sporty crossover SUV. The claimed electric driving range is 407 kilometers, but right now it is early March, and as you can see from the footage, we still do have some snow here in Vancouver. So the trip computer is estimating that the 100% fully charged electric driving range is 395 kilometers. But that does drop by about 30-ish kilometers if you decide to use the heater for cabin heating. Charging the Niro EV from one of the faster level 2 chargers takes about 9 to 10 hours. That is from about 10% to 100%. From a level 3 350 kilowatt DC fast charger, it can do 10% to 80% in about 45 minutes. Unfortunately, the Niro EV does not have a super fast charging architecture, so it can't charge as fast as, say, the Kia EV6, which can do the same charge, 10% to 80%, in as little as 20 minutes. Like many other EVs, the 2023 Niro EV has multiple regenerative braking modes to choose from. There are levels 0 to max, with 0 providing no regen braking, while max slows the car down to a stop if you hold onto the left steering wheel paddle. There is iPedal, which is a one-pedal drive mode, and it provides a smooth operation. Finally, there's auto regen braking, which automatically adjusts the amount of regen braking based on factors such as the vehicle speed and if there's another vehicle ahead of yours, among other factors. Personally, I like to use the iPedal mode. However, it didn't always work as intended. What I mean by this is if the car was fully charged, or pretty close to it, it would display a message on the instrument cluster notifying me that the battery was fully charged and that regenerative braking was not available. Once that message popped up, the car acted as though it was on level 0 or 1 of regen braking, which meant hardly any, and it didn't really slow down. Obviously, I had to use the physical brakes to slow the car down, and I couldn't reuse the iPedal or the stronger regen braking modes until the battery had been depleted by a significant amount, approximately 8 to 12%. In other EVs that I've driven, the one-pedal mode still works regardless of the battery state of charge, but not in this Kia Niro EV. Just something for you to be aware of. Now driving the Niro PHEV, it is powered by a 1.6-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder engine that on its own produces a little over 100 horsepower. It is helped by an electric motor, and the total output is 180 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. Obviously, this version is not as fast as the electric version. It doesn't have quite the same instant torque from the electric motor, and you do need to wait a little bit for the engine to rev up and the transmission to downshift, but it still feels pretty peppy. Speaking of the transmission, it is a 6-speed automatic. However, it's a 6-speed dual clutch automatic, not a more traditional torque converter automatic. What that means is slightly faster shifts and slightly more crisp feeling shifts. But don't expect this to be a Volkswagen Golf GTI type of dual clutch. The shifts are still not as responsive if you decide to use the paddle shifters, and again, not quite as fast. But they're perfectly fine for a car like this. And speaking of the paddle shifters, they serve two purposes. In eco mode, they control how much regen braking you have. In sport mode, they control the actual transmission shifts. But again, expect a bit of a delay if you decide to use them in that mode. The Niro PHEV can drive for up to 55 kilometers, or 34 miles, on electricity alone. Once the battery is depleted, the crossover will drive as though it's a traditional hybrid. If you decide to drive it like this, it should return 4.6 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. To recharge the Niro PHEV, you can use a regular wall socket, in which case it'll take approximately 10 hours to fully recharge. Or you can use a level 2 charger, in which case it'll be fully recharged in just under 3 hours. One thing to note, like many other Kia and Hyundai plug-in hybrids, if you want cabin heating during the winter months, the engine has to turn on. This PHEV does not have an electric heater for cabin heating. It uses the residual heat from the engine even if you tell it to remain in EV mode for shorter drives. I've covered this functionality in a little bit more detail in my Kia Sportage PHEV video. The driving dynamics of the Niro EV and PHEV are more suited for a city environment. The steering is light for easy maneuverability, but it firms up when you find yourself on a highway. The suspension is tuned to absorb the bumps and potholes of city streets rather than providing outright grip. You'll have an easy time zipping through traffic in the Niro, but it won't feel as zippy on a twisting canyon or forest road. The ride of the 2023 Kia Niro is firm but comfortable. As mentioned earlier, the suspension absorbs bumps in the road quite well. However, you'll feel the smallest road crack or pebble that the tires may drive over. With the white one being an electric vehicle, it is generally quieter than the PHEV. Tire noise is the most evident sound that intrudes into the cabin, but it's not overly loud. Both vehicles came equipped with winter tires, which tend to be louder than all-season tires. In the PHEV, you'll also be hearing the engine quite loudly when you need to go up a steep hill at speed or overtake another vehicle on a highway. I don't understand what Kia's obsession is with gloss black plastic. It is everywhere in this car. Yes, it does look good when it's nice and new, and this car has less than 3,000 kilometers, so it looks pristine. But after a few years, it's gonna look bad. On the center console, there's going to be scratches, fingerprint smudges, coffee stains. On the steering wheel, more fingerprint smudges and probably a little bit of spit. And same thing on the door panel, more fingerprint smudges. The only one that might actually survive is the gloss black around the ambient lighting on the dashboard. But everything else is going to look really bad after a few years. Now, you can be a little bit OCD and clean the car every week or twice a week, but scratches are still going to be very visible. And let's face it, how often do you actually clean your car? Probably not that often. So again, Kia, why do you keep using gloss black plastic? There are far better options out there that look just as good or probably even better than all of this gloss black. As for functionality in this interior, it works great. The infotainment touchscreen is within easy reach. It's the same infotainment system that is used throughout other Kia models. It does allow for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but they're not wireless if you get it with this 10.25-inch touchscreen. The climate controls slash infotainment quick access buttons are the same ones that are used in the Kia EV6. I'm totally fine with them because I just leave it on the climate control and then I use the infotainment system or the steering wheel mounted controls to change different things on the infotainment. On the center console, you have physical buttons for your heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, parking sensors, and so on. So in terms of functionality, it works really well. In terms of looks, it does look good so long as it's clean. In terms of interior space, this new generation of the Kia Niro is bigger than the previous generation, so someone as tall as myself at 6'4" has plenty of space up here in the front. Plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. I can raise the seat further up and I can even move the seat further back. In the back seats, it is a little bit tighter for someone as tall as myself behind my driving position, but again, this new generation of the Kia Niro is bigger than the last one, so I'm just glad that there is a little bit more space. My knees are right up against the back seat and headroom is a little bit tighter than in the front, mainly because the back seats do make you sit a little bit higher up. This EV version has a completely flat floor, but the PHEV and the hybrid do have a little bit of a hump in the center. There are vents on the center console and a couple of USB ports behind each seat. So overall, this new generation of the Kia Niro has a pretty nice interior, again, as long as you keep it clean, and it is much more spacious in here. The electric version of the 2023 Kia Niro has the same cargo volume as the Niro Hybrid, 645 liters with the rear seats up and 1,804 liters with the rear seats folded. It's the Niro PHEV that has less volume with 549 liters and 1,546 liters respectively. The Kia Niro used to be a pretty affordable little car. However, in 2023, it's gotten quite a bit more expensive. The hybrid starts at $30,000 Canadian and can go in price up to just under $39,000 Canadian. This PHEV is only available in one trim for the Canadian market, and it'll cost you $38,000 Canadian. That EV starts at $45,000 Canadian, and this limited trim that I have here costs $53,000 Canadian. That's a lot for such a little car. At least for the price of this limited trim, the 2023 Kia Niro EV does come well equipped. It has heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, a power sunroof, dual zone automatic climate control, a head-up display that is projected onto the windshield, wireless phone charging pad, LED headlights, front and rear parking sensors, a power liftgate, and leatherette upholstery that is environmentally friendly. There are just two minor issues that I had with the gadgets. Firstly, the placement of the backup camera means that it will quickly get dirty and difficult to see out of the back. Secondly, the automatic wipers have a mind of their own. It doesn't really matter which auto sensitivity setting they're on because they'll go as fast as possible when there's a light drizzle and barely turn themselves on when there's an actual rainstorm. Conventional intermittent wipers are far superior to automatic wipers. Change my mind. The Niro PHEV doesn't come quite as well equipped, but it still has heated front seats and heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control, combination cloth and leatherette upholstery, wireless phone charging pad, push button start with keyless entry, and the same infotainment system with wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity. The exterior design of the Niro is quite funky, and I especially like the front end. The daytime running lights have a cool design which double as the turn signals. The faux grille on the EV reminds me of the current generation Kia Soul, which I think is a pretty funky looking crossover. The Niro EV is only available with 17-inch alloy wheels, while the Niro PHEV is only available with 16-inch alloy wheels. It's the regular hybrid that allows you to have up to 18-inch wheels. However, from here backwards is where it starts to look a bit odd, at least for me it does. Obviously, this panel is in a different color than the rest of the body, and it looks good on something like the Audi R8, but on this Kia Niro, it just looks odd. It is functional because there's a vent here and it comes out here for better aerodynamics, but again, I just don't think it looks all that great when it's different colors. Thankfully, you can get it in the same color as the rest of the body, and I think that looks better. The other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit about the rear styling has to do with the turn signals. They're way down here. I much preferred if they were integrated into the brake lights. Overall though, so long as that panel is in the same color as the rest of the body, I think that the Kia Niro is fresh, funky, and really unique. And finally, every trim level of the 2023 Kia Niro has standard automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning with lane keep, blind spot sensors with cross traffic alert, and auto high beams. The PHEV adds highway drive assist, adaptive cruise control, and rear parking sensors. Move up to the top spec trim of the Niro EV, and it'll also come equipped with front parking sensors, rear parking collision avoidance, rain sensing wipers, which I don't like, and advanced highway drive assist. This advanced system allows for semi-hands-free driving on most highways and freeways, and it's smart enough to change lanes on its own. However, you have to have at least one hand on the steering wheel for the maneuver to be performed. So let's recap the Kia Niro. The EV just costs way too much money, especially that top spec trim. For the same price as that, you can get a long-range Hyundai Ioniq 5, and obviously it has more range and it's bigger. Additionally, if you want something that size, then check out the Chevy Bolt EUV. It's, again, same size as it, and it has the same driving range, but it ends in pricing where that one starts in pricing. However, this Niro PHEV, I think, is the sweet spot. It has just enough electric driving range for commuting to work, running errands, whatever it may be, and you have that gas engine for long road trips without needing to plan ahead for charging like you would with that one. So PHEV, Kia Niro, that's the one you should go for. If you'd like to know more about either of these two cars, I have more detailed reviews of them over on my website. You can find those links in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV like these two. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.